Danny Morgan sat on the cold floor of the cafeteria, his hands still trembling. Around him, students from dozens of alien species whispered and pointed at him. Through the massive windows he could see them. Dragons. Dozens of dragons landing on the academy grounds, their scales shimmering in the twin suns of this strange world. It had started so simply. Just 30 minutes ago, Danny had been eating his lunch alone, as he did every day. The other students avoided him. Humans were new to the Galactic Academy, and nobody wanted to be friends with the weakest species in the galaxy. They called humans soft, primitive, barely worth the space they took up. Then he had seen the small dragon. It was injured, limping near the trash containers behind the cafeteria. Most students walked past it without a second glance. Dragons were common in this part of space, treated like stray cats or pigeons back on Earth. This one was young, maybe the size of a large dog, with crimson scales that were dull from hunger and pain. Danny had looked at his lunch. It was all he had until dinner. The academy gave human students minimal rations, just enough to survive. But the dragon looked so hungry, so desperate. Without thinking too hard about it, Danny had walked over and offered the creature his sandwich and fruit. The dragon, whom Danny would later learn was named Ember, had looked at him with bright golden eyes. She had eaten slowly, carefully, as if she couldn't believe someone was being kind to her. Then she had made a soft chirping sound and pressed her head against Danny's hand. That simple moment had changed everything. Now, elder dragons were demanding to see him. The academy's headmaster, a tall blue alien named Vorak with 6 arms and a face like carved stone, pushed through the crowd of students. His expression was somewhere between panic and confusion. "Human," Vorak said, his voice booming. "What have you done?" Danny stood up slowly. His legs felt weak. "I just fed a hungry dragon, sir. She was hurt and starving." "You just fed," Vorak repeated, his voice rising. "Do you have any idea what you have done?" Dragons do not gather like this. They do not respond to other species. They keep to themselves. Yet here they are, dozens of them, and they are asking for you by name. One of the other students, a large reptilian Thalorian named Krell, who had shoved Danny into walls more times than he could count, stepped forward. "This is some kind of trick. Humans are manipulators. Everyone knows this." "I didn't manipulate anyone," Danny said quietly. "I just shared my food." "Silence," Vorak commanded. He turned to look out the window where an enormous silver dragon had just landed, causing the ground to shake. "I must speak with the dragon elders. Human, you will come with me. The rest of you, return to your dormitories immediately." The walk to the landing field felt like walking to his own execution. Danny could feel hundreds of eyes watching him from the academy buildings. News traveled fast here. By now, everyone would know that the pathetic human had somehow gotten the attention of the dragons. When they reached the field, Danny's breath caught in his throat. The dragons were magnificent. They ranged in size from creatures as small as horses to massive beings as large as buildings. Their scales were every color imaginable: gold, silver, emerald green, deep purple, crystalline blue. Some had wings that seemed to be made of starlight itself. The silver dragon that had caused the ground to shake lowered her massive head to look at Danny. Her eyes were ancient, filled with wisdom that made Danny feel like an infant in comparison. "You are the human called Danny Morgan," the dragon said. Her voice resonated in his mind rather than his ears. "Yes, ma'am," Danny replied, not sure if dragons use titles like that. "I am Silverwind. I have lived for 3,000 of your years. In all that time, I have seen countless species rise and fall. I have seen acts of great courage and terrible cruelty. But today, a young human did something that has awakened a memory in our kind." Danny glanced at Vorak, who looked as confused as Danny felt. "You fed Ember," Silverwind continued. "You gave her your only meal. You expected nothing in return. You did not know she was a dragon of the Crimson Drake lineage. You did not know that helping her would bring you any benefit. You simply saw a creature in pain and chose compassion." "It seemed like the right thing to do," Danny said softly. "The right thing," Silverwind repeated. Such simple words. Yet so few beings in this galaxy live by them. Another dragon, this one golden and almost as large as Silverwind, moved closer. "We have been observing your species since you joined the galactic community. We have watched how others treat you, how they mock you, hurt you, diminish you, yet your kind continues to show kindness. This human boy could have eaten his food and ignored Ember. No one would have blamed him. Instead, he chose to help. Vorak finally found his voice. Honored elders, I must apologize for any disrespect this human has shown. He is young and does not understand proper protocol. Disrespect? Silverwind's laugh sounded like distant thunder. Headmaster, this human has shown more respect and honor than most species show in their entire existence. We have come here today to acknowledge this. From this moment forward, humanity is under the protection of dragonkind. The silence that followed was absolute. Danny could see aliens watching from every window of the academy. He could see Vorak's face go pale, his 6 arms hanging limply at his sides. Protected? Vorak whispered. Protected, the golden dragon confirmed. Any who harm humans will answer to us. Any who show them disrespect will face our displeasure. This is our decree. Danny's mind was spinning. Protected by dragons? The most powerful beings in the known galaxy? All because he had shared his sandwich? I don't understand, Danny said. Why would you do this for me? For my species? Silverwind lowered her head until it was level with Danny's. Because kindness is the rarest treasure in this universe, young human. Those who possess it must be protected. Those who practice it must be honored. You will understand more in time. For now, know that you have made an ally of dragonkind. That is no small thing. As the dragons began to lift off, their wings creating winds that bent the trees around the landing field, Danny saw Ember. The small crimson dragon was sitting near the edge of the field, watching him. She chirped softly, the same sound she had made when he fed her. Danny walked over to her, ignoring Vorak's protests. He knelt down and gently touched her head. Ember closed her eyes and made a rumbling sound that might have been a purr. Thank you, Danny whispered. I think you might have just saved my life here. Ember opened one golden eye and looked at him. In that moment, Danny felt something shift in his mind. A connection formed, delicate but real. He could sense her emotions, gratitude, affection, and fierce protectiveness. As he walked back to the academy with Vorak, Danny noticed the changes immediately. Students moved out of his way. Some looked scared. Others looked angry. A few, like the small blue Luminian girl named Katie who sat in the back of his xenobiology class, looked impressed. Everything had changed. 30 minutes ago he had been nothing. Now he was under the protection of dragons. Danny wasn't sure if his life had gotten better or infinitely more complicated. Probably both. 3 days had passed since the dragons came. 3 days since Danny's life had turned completely upside down. He sat in his small dormitory room, staring at the holographic message that floated in front of him. The symbols were in ancient dragon script, but the translation was clear enough. The Council of Eternal Flames requested his presence on Dracovi's Prime. Danny read it again, hoping the words would somehow change. They didn't. Dragons wanted him to visit their homeworld, a place that most species didn't even know existed, a place that was hidden somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, protected by magic and technology that nobody understood. A knock on his door made him jump. Come in, he called out. Katie Wells entered, her blue skin glowing softly in the dim light of his room. She was Luminian, a species known for their peaceful nature and their ability to sense emotions. She was also the only person who had ever been nice to Danny before the dragon incident. You look terrified, Katie said, sitting on the edge of his bed. I am terrified, Danny admitted. They want me to go to their homeworld. Me, a human who barely passed his navigation exam. Katie smiled gently. You know why they chose you, right? It's not about your grades or your skills. It's about what you did for Ember. I just fed her, Danny said, frustrated. Why does everyone keep acting like I did something amazing? Because you did, Katie replied. Danny, most species in the galaxy have forgotten how to be kind without expecting something in return. You weren't trying to make an alliance or gain power. You just saw someone suffering and helped them. That's rare. That's precious. A soft chirping sound came from the window. Ember sat on the ledge outside, her crimson scales gleaming. She had been staying close to Danny ever since that day. The connection between them had grown stronger. Danny could feel her emotions now, like background music in his mind. He opened the window and Ember hopped inside, curling up on his desk chair. She was bigger now, growing fast. Already she was the size of a large wolf, see? Katie said. She won't leave your side. You have a bond with her. That means something to dragons. The headmaster wants me to go, Danny said. He keeps saying it's a great honor for the academy. For humanity. He's been treating me like I'm suddenly important. Katie's expression turned sad. Of course he has. 3 days ago, he didn't care if you lived or died. Now you're protected by dragons. Now you're useful to him. She was right. The change had been instant and obvious. Professors who had ignored his raised hand in class now called on him first. Students who had shoved him in hallways now stepped aside. The cafeteria had started serving human food, real Earth food. Instead of the bland nutritional paste he'd been eating for months, it all felt fake. Wrong. I don't want to be important, Danny said quietly. I just want to study and maybe make some friends. Too late for that, Katie said, but she said it kindly. You made a choice, Danny, a good choice. Now you have to live with the consequences. Even good choices have consequences. The next morning, Danny stood in the headmaster's office. Vorak was there, along with several important-looking aliens Danny didn't recognize. They were all treating him with careful respect now. It made his skin crawl. The transport ship is ready, Vorak said. You will leave tomorrow morning. We have prepared gifts for the Dragon Council. Cultural artifacts, precious metals, technology. They don't want gifts, Danny said. Everyone turned to look at him. I mean, respectfully, sir, I don't think that's why they invited me. One of the aliens, a tall insectoid creature, clicked its mandibles in what might have been laughter. The human thinks he understands dragons better than we do. Maybe I do, Danny said, surprising himself with his boldness. Maybe that's the whole point. The room went silent. Vorak's 6 arms twitched, a sign of irritation. But he didn't argue. How could he? The dragons had chosen Danny, not any of them. Very well, Vorak said stiffly. You may go. Prepare for your journey. Danny spent the rest of the day in the library, trying to learn anything he could about Dracovi's Prime. There wasn't much. Dragons kept their secrets well. He found old legends, stories passed down through various species about a world of fire and crystal, where dragons had lived since before most civilizations had learned to make fire. That evening, Katie helped him pack. He didn't have much. A few changes of clothes, his tablet with his schoolwork. A photo of his family back on Earth. Are you scared? Katie asked. Yes, Danny admitted. What if I mess this up? What if I say something wrong and ruin everything for humanity? You won't, Katie said firmly.
You know why?
Because you're not trying to be diplomatic or clever. You're just trying to be decent. That's what they respect about you. Ember chirped from her spot on the bed. The small dragon had barely left Danny's side. He could feel her determination to come with him, her absolute refusal to be left behind. I guess you're coming too, Danny said, scratching under her chin. She made that rumbling purr sound again. The next morning came too quickly. The transport ship was sleek and fast, clearly one of the Academy's best. The pilot was a professional, saying little as they prepared for departure. Danny sat in the passenger area. Ember curled in his lap and watched as the Academy grew smaller below them. The journey took 6 hours. 6 hours of jumping through hyperspace, of watching stars streak past the windows. Danny tried to read, tried to study, but he couldn't concentrate. His mind kept racing with questions. What would the dragons ask him? What did they want? Why was this happening? Ember seemed calm, though. Her emotions flowed through their bond. Excitement, curiosity, and complete trust in Danny. That trust was both comforting and terrifying. When they finally exited hyperspace near Dracovi's Prime, Danny's breath caught. The planet was beautiful. Massive volcanoes dotted its surface, but instead of destructive lava, they seemed to flow with liquid light. Crystal formations jutted from the ground like frozen lightning. The sky was filled with dragons, hundreds of them, flying in patterns that looked like dancing. Incredible, the pilot muttered. I never thought I'd see this place. They landed in a valley surrounded by mountains. The ground was warm beneath Danny's feet when he stepped off the ship. The air smelled like cinnamon and electricity. Everywhere he looked, there were dragons. Watching him, waiting, a massive golden dragon approached. This was the same one Danny had seen at the Academy. Up close, she was even more impressive. Her scales looked like they were made of pure gold, each one catching the light. Welcome, Danny Morgan, the dragon said in his mind. I am Sunforge, eldest of the Council of Eternal Flames. We have much to discuss. Thank you for inviting me, Danny said, his voice small in this vast place. Walk with me, Sunforge said. There is a truth you must learn. A truth about your species and mine. A truth that has been lost for thousands of years. Danny followed the golden dragon through the valley. Ember walked beside him, her head held high despite her small size. Other dragons watched but didn't interfere. There was a sense of ceremony to this moment, like something important was about to happen. They arrived at a cave entrance carved with symbols Danny didn't recognize. Inside, the walls glowed with soft blue light. In the center of the cave, 6 other massive dragons waited, the Council of Eternal Flames. "Sit, young human," Sunforge said, "and listen well. What I am about to tell you will change how you see your species. It will change how you see us. And it will explain why a simple act of kindness carried such weight." Danny sat on the smooth stone floor. Ember settled beside him, her warmth comforting. The 7 ancient dragons formed a circle around them, their eyes glowing in the dim light. "Long ago," Sunforge began, "before your species had even discovered how to plant seeds in the ground, we came to your world. We were fleeing a war. We were wounded, starving, desperate. We landed in a place your people now call Africa, and there we met your ancestors." Danny sat very still as Sunforge's words echoed through the glowing cave. The 7 ancient dragons of the council watched him, their eyes holding memories that stretched back thousands of years. Ember pressed against his side, and he could feel her awe through their bond. "Your ancestors had nothing," Sunforge continued, her voice soft but clear in Danny's mind. "They lived in small groups, hunting and gathering. Every day was a struggle to survive. They had no weapons that could hurt us, no reason to help us, every reason to fear us." Another dragon, one with scales that shifted between purple and black, spoke next. His name was Shadowmere. "We were dying. 5 of us had crashed on your world. We had fought in a war against a species that wanted to enslave all dragon kind. We had won, but the cost was terrible. We were the only survivors of our clan. We couldn't fly," a 3rd dragon added. This one was smaller than the others, with scales like rubies. "Our wings were damaged. We were starving. In our desperation, we approached the humans." Danny listened, barely breathing. This was history nobody knew. History that had been lost for millennia. Sunforge's eyes seemed to look through time itself. "The humans could have run. They could have attacked us while we were weak. Instead, they brought us food. They shared their meager supplies with us, even though it meant they would have less for themselves. They brought water. They tended our wounds with their primitive medicines. They sang to us," Shadowmere said softly. "At night, when we were in pain, they sang songs to comfort us. They didn't know we could understand the emotion behind the sounds, but we could. We felt their compassion, their genuine desire to help despite the danger we represented." Danny felt tears pricking his eyes. "How long did they help you?" 3 months, Sunforge replied. "For 3 months, that small tribe of humans cared for us. They asked for nothing. They expected nothing. When we were finally healed enough to fly again, we tried to give them gifts. We offered them treasures from our world, knowledge, anything they desired. They refused," the ruby dragon said. "They told us that helping those in need was simply what good beings did. They didn't have words for it in their language, but the concept was clear. Kindness needs no reward." Sunforge stood and began to pace slowly. "We swore an oath that day. We promised that we would never forget humanity's compassion. We promised that if we ever found them again among the stars, we would honor that ancient debt. But then we had to leave. The war was not truly over. Enemies were searching for us. We couldn't stay on Earth without bringing danger to your ancestors. We flew away," Shadowmere continued, "and we lost track of your world. Space is vast, and your solar system was in an unremarkable part of the galaxy. We searched, but we couldn't find Earth again. As centuries passed, the memory became a legend among our kind. Some dragons began to doubt it had even happened. Until you fed Ember," Sunforge said, turning to look at Danny. "When you gave her your food, expecting nothing in return, she felt something familiar, something that resonated with the oldest memories in dragonkind, the genetic memory of compassion shown by ancient humans." Danny looked at Ember, who chirped softly. She remembered something she never experienced. "Dragons carry the memories of our ancestors in our blood," the ruby dragon explained. "Not clearly, not like true memories, but emotions, important moments, they echo through generations. When Ember felt your kindness, it awakened every dragon's memory of Earth, of humanity. We knew instantly that we had found the lost children of those who helped us." "But humans have changed so much," Danny said. "We've done terrible things to each other. We've fought wars. We've been cruel. How could you know we were the same species? Sunforge lowered her massive head until she was eye level with Danny. Every species has darkness in them. Every civilization has done terrible things. That's not what matters. What matters is that the capacity for genuine compassion still exists in your kind. You proved that. You, a boy who had been mocked and hurt by others, still chose to help a creature in need. Another dragon spoke, one with scales that looked like ice. Her name was Frost Whisper. We have been watching humanity since you joined the galactic community. We watched how other species treated you, how they called you weak, primitive, worthless. We watched to see how you would respond. Some humans became bitter, Shadowmere said. Some became angry. That was understandable. But many, like you, remained kind despite the cruelty shown to them. That's when we knew. You were truly the descendants of those ancient humans who helped us. Danny wiped his eyes. The weight of what he was hearing was overwhelming. So the alliance, the protection, it's because of something my ancestors did thousands of years ago. No, Sunforge said firmly. The alliance is because of what you did 3 days ago. Your ancestors showed us that humanity was capable of compassion. You showed us that humanity still chooses compassion, even after millennia, even in a galaxy that punishes kindness. That's far more important. The cave fell silent for a moment. Danny could hear his own heartbeat, could feel Ember's steady presence beside him. But there's more you need to know, Sunforge said, her voice taking on a serious tone. This alliance will not be easy for your species. Other civilizations will be jealous. They will be angry. Some will try to hurt humanity because they fear what dragon protection means for the balance of power in the galaxy. The Thalorians already hate us, Danny said quietly. They will hate you more now, Frost Whisper confirmed. They have built their entire culture on military strength. They believe the strong should rule and the weak should serve. Humanity's alliance with us challenges that belief. It suggests that compassion might be more valuable than strength. What do we do? Danny asked. Sunforge's eyes glowed brighter. You survive. You continue to be who you are. You don't let the galaxy's cruelty make you cruel in return. That's all we ask. Be the species that helped us all those years ago. Be the species that produces humans like you. I'm not special, Danny protested. I just fed a hungry dragon. Exactly, Shadowmere said. You just fed a hungry dragon. In a galaxy where most beings wouldn't spare a thought for a suffering creature, you shared your only meal. If that's not special, then the word has no meaning. The ruby dragon moved closer. We're giving you a gift, Danny Morgan. A gift for all of humanity. We're offering our protection, our friendship, our knowledge. But more than that, we're offering validation. For too long, your species has been told you're worthless. We're telling the galaxy that you're valuable, not because you're strong or advanced, but because you're good. And if we stop being good? Danny asked. If humanity becomes cruel or violent, then we'll be disappointed, Sunforge said simply. But we won't abandon you. That's what loyalty means. Your ancestors helped us when we were at our worst, our weakest. We'll stand by you even if you stumble. That's the oath we swore, and dragons never break their oaths. Danny felt something shift inside him, a responsibility he hadn't asked for but couldn't refuse. What do you need me to do? Go back to the academy, Sunforge said. Live your life, study, make friends. Be kind, that's all. You don't need to be a warrior or a leader. Just be Danny Morgan, the human who fed a stray dragon. That's enough. Others will expect more from you, Frost Whisper warned. Your headmaster will want you to be a symbol. Other humans will want you to lead them. Aliens will want to use you for their own purposes. Resist all of that. Just be yourself. And you'll have help, the ruby dragon said, looking at Ember. Your bond with Ember is real. She's chosen you as her companion. As she grows, she'll protect you, guide you, and remind you of what's important. Ember chirped and nuzzled Danny's hand. He could feel her determination, her absolute commitment to staying by his side. The council meeting continued for hours. The dragons told Danny about their culture, their laws, their way of seeing the universe. They explained that not all dragons would accept the alliance immediately. Some were suspicious of change. But the council's decision was final, and most dragons would honor it. As the suns began to set outside the cave, Sunforge walked Danny back to his transport ship. The valley was even more beautiful in the fading light, with dragons flying against the colorful sky. Thank you, Danny said, for telling me the truth, for trusting humanity. "Thank you for being trustworthy," Sunforge replied. "Go home, young human. Your journey is just beginning." The transport ship touched down at the academy 3 weeks after Danny had left. 3 weeks that felt like 3 years. As he stepped off the ship with Ember at his side, Danny immediately sensed that something had changed. The air felt tense, heavy with unspoken conflict. Students gathered in the landing area, but they weren't just watching. They had divided into clear groups. On one side, Danny saw several humans who hadn't been at the academy when he left. New students, their faces full of hope and excitement. Near them stood Katie and a few other aliens who looked genuinely happy to see him return. On the other side, a much larger group stood in rigid formation. Thalorians, Zephyx, and several other warrior species. Their faces showed anger, resentment, and barely controlled hostility. Krell, the Thalorian who used to shove Danny into walls, stood at the front of this group, his arms crossed over his massive chest. "This is going to be complicated," Danny muttered to Ember. She growled softly, a sound that was becoming deeper as she grew. She was almost the size of a small horse now, her crimson scales gleaming with health and power. Katie rushed forward, her blue skin bright with emotion. "Danny, thank goodness you're back. Things have been crazy here. What happened?" Danny asked. "Everything happened," Katie said, glancing nervously at the hostile group. New human students arrived. The Academy was forced to accept them because of the Dragon Alliance. Then the Galactic Council made an announcement that humanity was under official dragon protection. Some species celebrated, others, well, you can see. Headmaster Vorak approached, his 6 arms moving in what Danny now recognized as a gesture of respect. The change from 3 weeks ago was striking. Vorak had gone from barely acknowledging Danny's existence to treating him like visiting royalty. "Welcome back, Student Morgan," Vorak said formally. "I trust your visit to Dracovi's Prime was enlightening." "It was," Danny said carefully. "The dragons were very hospitable." "Excellent, excellent. I've arranged a special quarters for you. More space, better facilities, and we've assigned you a security detail after the, incidents." "Incidents?" Danny's stomach sank. "What incidents?" Katie's expression darkened. 3 human students were attacked. Nothing serious, just some pushing and threatening. But it's clear that not everyone is happy about the new situation. "I don't want special quarters," Danny said, "and I don't need security. I just want to go back to normal." Vorak's face twitched. "I'm afraid normal is no longer possible, Student Morgan. Your presence here has political implications. We must ensure your safety and comfort." Before Danny could argue, Krell stepped forward from the hostile group. His voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. "The human returns from his vacation with the dragons. Tell us, Weak One, did you enjoy being pampered by creatures who have forgotten what honor means?" Danny felt Ember tense beside him. Through their bond, he could sense her anger, her desire to defend him. He placed a calming hand on her head. "I wasn't pampered," Danny said quietly. "I was learning about history, about the connection between dragons and humans." "Connection," Krell spat the word. "There is no connection. There is only manipulation. You humans are skilled at making others pity you, at playing the victim until stronger species lower their guard. Then you strike." "That's not what happened," Danny said, trying to keep his voice calm. "I fed a hungry dragon. That's all. I didn't plan any of this." A Zephic warrior stepped forward, her wings rustling. "Whether you planned it or not doesn't matter. The result is the same. Humanity, the weakest species in the galactic community, now has the protection of the strongest. It's unnatural. It's wrong." "Why?" Katie challenged, stepping beside Danny. "Why is it wrong for the strong to protect those who can't protect themselves?" "Because protection must be earned through strength," Krell growled. "Not through tricks and manipulation." "I didn't trick anyone," Danny said, his frustration growing. "The dragons made their own choice. If you have a problem with it, take it up with them." The tension in the air grew thicker. Danny could see other students watching, some scared, others excited. This wasn't just about him anymore. This was about something bigger, about how the galaxy worked, about who deserved respect and why. Vorak clapped his hands loudly. "Enough. All students will return to their dormitories. Classes resume tomorrow. Anyone caught fighting will be expelled immediately." The groups dispersed slowly, unwillingly. Danny noticed that the human students walked together now, finding safety in numbers. That was new. 3 weeks ago, there had been so few humans that they were scattered and isolated. Katie walked with Danny to his old dormitory, Ember padding silently beside them. It's been like this since the announcement, Katie explained. The Academy had to open up more spots for humans because Earth demanded it. Suddenly, there are 50 human students instead of 5. The warrior species see it as an invasion. 50. Danny was shocked. Why would they come here? They know how dangerous it is. Because you made it less dangerous, Katie said. You showed them that humans can survive here, that they don't have to accept being treated like garbage. You gave them hope, Danny. They reached his dormitory room. It was the same small space he'd left, but someone had left gifts outside his door. Fruit, books, small tokens. Some were from humans thanking him. Others were from aliens, though Danny couldn't tell if those were genuine or some kind of trap. Inside, his room felt safe and familiar. Ember curled up in her usual spot near the window. She had grown too big for his desk chair now. I didn't mean to start something, Danny said, sitting on his bed. I just wanted to help Ember. I know, Katie said gently. But good actions have consequences too, not just bad ones. You did something good, and now you have to deal with what came from it. Over the next few days, Danny tried to return to his normal routine. He attended classes, did his homework, studied for exams, but nothing was normal anymore. In every class, he could feel the division. Human students sat together on one side. Warrior species sat together on the other. Species like Katie's, the peaceful ones, sat in the middle, trying not to take sides. Professors treated Danny differently now. Some were openly friendly, praising his work even when it wasn't his best. Others were coldly professional, as if afraid that showing him any attention would be seen as taking sides. In the cafeteria, the division was even more obvious. Humans ate at their own tables now. They talked quietly among themselves, always aware of the hostile stares from other species. Danny tried to sit with Katie at her usual table, the one where misfits and outcasts gathered, but even that felt different now. You're a symbol, Katie told him one evening, whether you want to be or not. Every human here looks up to you. Every warrior species sees you as a threat. You can't escape that. Danny hated it. He hated being watched all the time. He hated the fake smiles from aliens who wanted to use his dragon connection for their own purposes. He hated the real hatred from aliens who blamed him for changing the status quo. The crisis point came during a combat training class. The academy required all students to learn basic self-defense. Danny had always struggled with these classes. Humans were weaker than most species, slower, less durable. Today's exercise was sparring. The instructor, a grizzled Thalorian warrior, paired Danny with Krell. The room went silent. Everyone knew this was a bad idea. Everyone except the instructor, who seemed to think it was perfectly reasonable. Begin, the instructor commanded. Krell moved fast. His fist caught Danny in the stomach before he could react. Danny doubled over, gasping for air. Through the pain, he heard Ember roaring outside the training room. She could feel his pain through their bond. Get up, human, Krell snarled. Show us this strength the dragons see in you. Danny struggled to his feet. His ribs ached. He raised his hands in a defensive position, knowing it was useless. Krell was twice his size and 10 times as strong. The next punch came at his face. Danny tried to dodge, but he was too slow. He felt his lips split, tasted blood. The room spun. Stop this, Katie shouted from the sidelines. He's going to get killed. Combat training is mandatory, the instructor said, but his voice wavered. He was starting to realize his mistake. Krell advanced again, his face full of rage. You think you're special? You think kindness makes you strong? Let me show you what real strength looks like. But before Krell could strike again, the training room door exploded inward. Ember burst through, her scales blazing with heat. She placed herself between Danny and Krell, her teeth bared in a snarl that promised violence. Stand down, creature, the instructor commanded. Ember didn't move. She had grown powerful in the past few weeks. Her presence filled the room, making even the instructor step back. Danny pulled himself up, using Ember's side for support. It's okay, he whispered to her. I'm okay. Through their bond, he felt her rage, her desire to tear Krell apart for hurting him. But he also felt her love, her need to protect him. He pushed calm thoughts toward her, and slowly her snarling stopped. Class dismissed, the instructor said quickly. Everyone filed out, leaving Danny, Ember, Katie, and Krell in the room. Krell glared at Danny. You hide behind dragons. You're pathetic. Maybe, Danny said, wiping blood from his mouth. But at least I don't beat up people weaker than me to feel strong. The Academy's medical center patched up Danny's injuries. A split lip, bruised ribs, nothing permanent. But something had broken that day in the training room. Not his body, but the fragile peace that had existed since the dragons made their announcement. 2 days after the sparring incident, representatives from the Thalorian Empire arrived at the Academy. They were imposing figures covered in ceremonial armor, their faces grim with purpose. They demanded a formal meeting with Headmaster Vorak and the dragon representatives. Danny was called to attend. He sat in the grand conference room, Ember beside him, Katie nearby for moral support. Across the table, the Thalorian delegates glared at him with open hostility. "We challenge the legitimacy of this alliance," the lead delegate declared. His name was Commander Voss, and his voice carried the weight of authority. "The dragons have been deceived. Humanity has manipulated them through calculated acts of false kindness." Vorak looked uncomfortable. He clearly wanted to defend Danny, but he also couldn't afford to anger the Thalorian Empire. "These are serious accusations. Do you have proof?" "We have logic," Voss replied. "Consider the facts. Humans are a weak species. They have nothing to offer the dragons except pity. This boy," he gestured dismissively at Danny, "performed one convenient act of kindness at exactly the right moment to be seen by multiple dragon witnesses. It was theater, designed to exploit dragon sentimentality." "That's not true," Danny said quietly. "Nobody was watching when I fed Ember. I didn't even know other dragons would care." "So you claim," Voss sneered. "We demand a formal trial. Let the dragons test this human's character. If his compassion is genuine, it will stand up to scrutiny. If it's false, the alliance should be dissolved." Before Vorak could respond, a shimmering light filled the room. Sunforge materialized, her golden scales glowing. The temperature in the room rose, and everyone fell silent. "You wish to test the human?" Sunforge's voice resonated in everyone's minds. Voss straightened, trying to look brave despite the obvious fear in his eyes. "We demand truth, Honored Elder. If this human is truly as compassionate as claimed, let him prove it." Sunforge's ancient eyes studied Voss for a long moment. "Very well. We accept your challenge. We will conduct a trial of compassion. This is an ancient test not used in over 1,000 years. The human will be placed in situations where he must choose between his own benefit and helping others. He will not know he is being tested." Danny's heart sank. "How is that fair? If I don't know I'm being tested, how can I prepare?" "That's the point," Sunforge replied. "True compassion isn't something you prepare for. It's who you are when nobody is watching, when there's no reward. When kindness costs you something precious, the terms were set. For 3 months, Danny would face hidden trials. Observers would watch his choices. At the end, the Dragon Council would judge whether his compassion was genuine. If he passed, humanity's alliance with the dragons would be confirmed forever. If he failed, the alliance would end and humanity would return to their previous status in the galactic community. 3 months, Danny repeated numbly as he left the conference room. 3 months of not knowing when I'm being tested or what the tests even are. "Just be yourself," Katie advised. "That's all you can do." But being himself became harder than Danny expected. Knowing he was being watched, tested, judged, it changed everything. He second-guessed every decision. Was this a test? Was that a test? Should he help this person, or was it a trap? The first clear test came 2 weeks later. Danny was heading to class when he found a transport shuttle broken down on the side of the path. Inside were 3 Zephyx students, species known for their hatred of humans. They were stranded, late for an important exam. Danny's first instinct was to walk past. These were people who had mocked him, threatened him, made his life miserable. Why should he help them? But then he remembered Ember, hungry and hurt. A creature who had no reason to trust anyone. He had helped her not because it benefited him, but because it was right. Danny approached the shuttle. "Need help?" The Zephyx looked at him with suspicion. "What do you want, human?" "Nothing," Danny said. "But I know a bit about these old shuttles. My dad worked on similar engines back on Earth. I might be able to fix it." It took him 30 minutes. 30 minutes of working in the hot sun, while the Zephyx watched in uncomfortable silence. When the engine finally coughed to life, Danny stepped back, his hands covered in grease. "There, should get you to your exam." One of the Zephyx, a female with silver wings, looked at him curiously. "Why did you help us? We've been nothing but cruel to you." Danny shrugged. "Because you needed help. That's all." As he walked away, he wondered if that had been a test. He wouldn't know for months. The trials continued, though Danny didn't always recognize them. A lost child from a hostile species who needed help finding her parents. Danny spent 3 hours searching, missing his own study group. A mistake in his scholarship records that would let him stay at the academy if he stayed quiet, but would force out another human student who was struggling. Danny reported the mistake, ensuring the other student got the funds they deserved. Each time, the choice cost him something. Time, comfort, opportunities. Each time, he chose compassion over convenience. But the hardest test came in the final month. Katie was accused of stealing classified research. The evidence was damning. Security footage showed her accessing files she shouldn't have. Her dorm room contained data chips with stolen information. Everyone believed she was guilty, even Vorak. The penalty for academic espionage was expulsion and criminal charges. Katie faced not just leaving the academy, but possible imprisonment. Danny knew it was false. He knew Katie. She was the gentlest, most honest person he had ever met. But proving her innocence would mean going against the academy administration, risking his own standing, possibly even endangering the Dragon Alliance if he was wrong. For 3 days, Danny agonized over what to do. Ember stayed close, offering comfort but no answers. This was his choice to make. Finally, Danny went to Vorak's office. "Headmaster, Katie is innocent." "I'm certain of it," Vorak sighed. "The evidence is clear, Student Morgan. I understand she's your friend, but friendship cannot blind us to facts." "Then the facts are wrong," Danny insisted. "Someone planted that evidence. Katie would never steal anything. She can barely bring herself to step on insects." "You risk your reputation on this claim?" Vorak asked. "I risk everything on it," Danny replied. "Because that's what friends do." Danny spent 2 weeks investigating. He missed classes, ignored his homework, barely slept. He went through security logs, interviewed students, followed digital trails. Ember helped, using her growing dragon senses to detect lies and hidden emotions. Finally, Danny found it. The real thief had used sophisticated technology to make it appear Katie had accessed the files. But they had made one mistake. A timestamp was off by 3 seconds. 3 tiny seconds that proved the footage had been altered. Danny traced the technology back to its source. A Thalorian student working under orders from his government. The entire thing had been a setup, designed to discredit both Katie and Danny, to show that humans would abandon their values when it mattered most. When Danny presented his evidence to Vorak, the headmaster's face went pale. "This is a conspiracy involving a foreign government. If we pursue this, there will be serious political consequences." "I don't care," Danny said firmly. "Katie is innocent. That's all that matters." The scandal that followed shook the academy to its foundations. The Thalorian student was expelled. Their government issued a formal apology, though everyone knew it was insincere. Katie was cleared of all charges, though the experience left her shaken. "You saved me," Katie said one evening as they sat together in the common room. "You could have protected yourself. You could have let me take the fall. Everyone would have understood." "No, they wouldn't have," Danny replied. "And more importantly, I wouldn't have understood. You're my friend, Katie. That means something." 3 months to the day after Sunforge had announced the trial of compassion, she returned to the academy. The entire student body gathered in the main hall. Dragons filled the sky outside, their presence a reminder of the stakes. Sunforge stood before them, her golden scales gleaming. "We have watched. We have observed. We have tested Danny Morgan in ways he knew and ways he didn't. We have seen his choices when he thought nobody was watching." The room was silent. Danny held his breath. In every test, Danny Morgan chose compassion, not because it benefited him, but because it was right. He helped those who had hurt him. He sacrificed his own success to help others. He risked everything to defend a friend. His compassion is not a performance. It is who he is. Sunforge's eyes found Danny in the crowd. But more than that, his example has inspired others. We have watched as dozens of students, both human and alien, began to question the cruelty that has become normal in this galaxy. We have seen the birth of something precious, a movement toward kindness. A Luminian student stood up, then a human, then surprisingly a Zephic, the female with silver wings whom Danny had helped months ago. One by one, students stood until nearly half the hall was on their feet. "We stand with compassion," the silver-winged Zephic announced. "We're tired of a galaxy that rewards cruelty and punishes kindness. We want to be better.